Hi, I'm Jonathan Block. In this video, I'll be doing some Frippertronics-style sound-on-sound looping using some classic Mellotron M400 sounds that are on the modern digital Mellotron. The signal chain is the Mellotron M4000D Mini. Its master mono analog output goes into a JHS pedals AB switch. The output from the switch goes into a Boss volume pedal on the floor. The output from the volume pedal goes into a Boss GT1000 core multi-effects. The stereo output from the core goes into a Boss RE-202 Space Echo that I'll be using for sound-on-sound looping. And the output from the Space Echo goes into a Universal Audio Volt 276 interface that then communicates back and forth with the iPad Pro. I'm just using the iPad to record GarageBand, so I'm not going to show the screen. You've seen me use GarageBand a whole number of times. I'll be using the RE-202 Space Echo not for delay, but only for sound-on-sound looping. I'll have a link down below in the description to a video where I go in depth about how to use this unit as a sound-on-sound looper. First, you have to get it into long delay mode, which then lets you tap up to 6 seconds of delay. The video has all of that information in it, but a couple of tips. It's much easier to tap out a 2-second delay having the Space Echo set to head 1, and then you just change it to head 3, and then that's the 6-second delay time that you can then use for 6 seconds of sound-on-sound looping. I would also suggest once you get that 6 seconds down, adjust the knobs any way you want, and then save that to one of the preset memory slots. This way you never have to worry about getting that 6 seconds of delay. Again, I've had this unit for 3-4 years, and the first week I did that, and I haven't had to do anything since. I do tweak the settings occasionally, but I'm using that 6 seconds of delay. Frippertronics style, because it's sound-on-sound, it's about 5 to 6 seconds, which is what Frippertronics was with the Revox tape decks. And also the sounds fade, so you can kind of go on forever. With the Space Echo, there's a bit of an idiosyncratic quality about the sound. Again, this is not a looper. I don't know anyone else using it as a looper, but it does work as one. You just have to be okay with the degradation that the sound has, both in quality and volume, and I'll get into that. All right, that's a heck of a lot about all the stuff here. What I'd like to do now is just demonstrate the sounds that I'm going to use. I'll be using, I did a video a while ago, I'll link that down below as well, where I used some of the M400 sounds, mainly strings and choirs. And for this one, I'll be using woodwinds, some organs, and some percussion, and I'll kind of explain that, how I'm going to use that. Let's start with the woodwind sounds. I'm just going to go through these really quick. I do not have any of the main effects going on the GT1000 core. I'll demonstrate those in a bit, but I do have a little bit of compression and a little bit of reverb going. So volume pedals on all the way. Let me just go through some of these. This is bass flute. Oboe. Can you hear that reverb? English horn. Bassoon. Alto sax. 2 saxes. Two brass. Hammond C3. A pipe organ. And Celeste. So this is a 1966 Celeste. And then a 74 Celeste. We have a clavichord. Next, we've got some vibes with vibrato. Then vibes without the vibrato. And finally, tubular bells. However, the tubular bells are only part, starting at this D. Before that, there's just a whole lot of different percussion. And backward cymbals. So I'll be using this as well. And I'll do some solo sounds over it. Let me just demonstrate the effects really quick. Let me go back to the bass flute. So I've got a rotary. No effect. Rotary. Very subtle. No effect. And then I have phaser. And then a master delay, so just a delay. It's called a master delay because in the GT1000 core, you can have well, you could really have more than that, but you can have 5 delays going on at once. You have 4 kind of just digital delays that you can move anywhere in the chain, and then there's a master delay that shows up at the end of the chain. So those are the effects. Those are the sounds. What I'd like to do now is just a quick, really quick loop. I'm not going to use all of the sounds, but I will kind of get to the tubular bells so you can hear how those cymbals kind of bunch up and kind of create some spooky sounds, as it were. So let me engage the space echo. So now anytime and anything that I play will now get imprinted into the loop, but I can also disengage and then do soloing over it. So let's just get a few sounds going here. Throw some effects on occasionally. So now that we have that sound, I could then, again, disengage, adding more music to the loop, and now I can just play. So I've just happened upon the Hammond organ sound, so we'll do that. Whoops, volume pedal on. Let me use Celeste sounds. Vibraphone. So now, as you can hear, the sound is that loop is degrading. It's kind of smearing the notes together. It's getting a lot more mid-rangey and woody, and the volume is going down. I typically set the space echo to about 130, and that keeps the volume as steady as possible, and the degradation of the sound is as slow as it can be as well. Then I can just turn it down. I've turned it down to noon, in order that the loop will now slowly go down in volume and decay quicker. And then I can go over to the tubular bell sounds and start adding those. Let me turn all the effects on. During the jam, it'll be smoother than that. It was a little abrupt. Oh, and I don't have it on, so let's try this again. So you can hear those other sounds have faded. Now we've got these cymbals going. Could do the same thing. Turn it off, use the vibes. Let me turn the effects off. One thing I do want to do, particularly with vibes, this sounds cool, turn the low-high switch to low. That halves the sample rate, so So it just sounds like it's an octave lower. Of course, we're still in the tubular bells. Let me get back over here. So if I then go high, you can hear the difference. Low. So the jam will be a little slower, a little more building. Just wanted to use that as an example. So let me switch some stuff around and I will do the jam. I'll let that fade out, but you can hear how the sound changes over time and actually fairly quickly. The sound degrades, it becomes a lot more mid-rangey, and the notes lose their definition, and of course the volume goes down. But that's the nature of sound-on-sound looping. If you're looking to put something in, either phrase or parts of a song, you don't want them to change, or you want to control how things change. You want a traditional hardware or software looper that's essentially a recorder. It's just recording a phrase recorder, a loop recorder, whereas sound-on-sound looping, you have to be able to embrace the idiosyncrasies and that you want the volume to change. So you could have loops going on for a very long time with things fading out in the background as you're hearing now. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and good luck with your own music.